This is a very quick and dirty, ill-informed opinion. I'm going to discuss something which kind of is key to looking at a variety of different issues coming forward that I wanted to examine, and I should have talked about before I did my economics talk at GalaxyCon Raleigh, which is online right now for you guys to look at, which is in the past decade or so, we've had influence by some strong populist elements on both political sides in the United States. From the left, we have people like Bernie Sanders and Ralph Nader and the Green Party and their ilk. And from the right, we have Trump and the Tea Party and their ilk. Both of which basically have the same fundamental ideas in terms of economic policy, although they approach them from two different radical perspectives. Now, there's a lot of variation at the top level, but at the bottom level, fundamentally the idea is very simple, which is that we need to derive our economic strength from the people of this country, specifically the workers, and create conditions which are conducive to heavy manufacturing, farming, native farming and agriculture, native invention, and so on, while blocking foreign and potentially corrupting elements from abroad, which will either prey on this or drain this. There's a lot of complaints from them regarding job loss overseas, resource loss overseas, etc., where things are going from American jobs to Mexico or China or wherever Pakistan, India, etc., etc. Pakistan just came up in my mind because I was just wearing a shirt that was made in Pakistan. And some of these are actually relevant ideas and are useful ideas. Some of them, however, and a lot of the ways they're discussed and brought forward by the populist side of things are actually pernicious and strongly negative. You can see this if we go back to the debates over NAFTA, which occurred in the 1990s. NAFTA was started in I believe the 70s or early 80s, and it was being worked on. It finally came to fruition in the 90s, where union representatives were upset about, specifically Teamsters, were upset about Mexican truckers being allowed to drive in the U.S. Now, their solution wasn't to expand the union to Mexico or to ask for the same level of care and training in Mexican drivers, but rather to ban Mexican drivers from coming to the U.S., creating basically a barrier to entry and ensuring that American jobs are held by Americans. There's a lot of problems with this, not least of which is that's impossible. We live in a globalized society, and we have ever since the around early Iron Age, something like this, 500 BCs, maybe earlier is when I would estimate globalization really kicked in overdrive, and the U.S. economy has always been globalized. In fact, one of the main causes for our war with England, which brought about our independence, was our trade imbalances with England and how they were trying to prevent from globalization from occurring, and us having open trade with everybody as opposed to just the United Kingdom. So that's the first problem. You're trying to put on the barrel. Its second problem is implying that there's an inherent value to a very specific ethnicity, I'm going to say, or or national identity when it comes to jobs which have nothing to do with such things. Now, as I'm not Jewish, I would not make a good rabbi because A, I'm not Jewish, and B, I don't have the cultural education to become a good rabbi. So in that case, nationality has some effect. I mean, I may be able to learn it. I don't know. I probably can't. I'm not that great or smart. But, in theory, someone could adapt to that or become a great rabbi without, being born into the culture. However, there's nothing inherently American or Mexican or what have you about being a trucker, nor is there anything inherently American about building cars or any number of things which people are talking about to this day in terms of jobs going overseas or in terms of textiles, for example. Big product which goes overseas. Agriculture is another thing which has moved way overseas thanks to tariffs. And this leads to one of the big problems with these populist economic policies. And I want to get into more of them later on, but I'm time limited right now, which is that I'll just discuss one, which is the tariffs on food. Tariffs on food that we put into place target American growers first and foremost. Second, they cause people to not want to buy from Americans. Okay? So if I have a tariff on, say, Canadian lumber, which is the case, then people who don't want to buy American lumber, they'll want to buy Canadian lumber because it's being targeted by the big bad Americans. The Americans can't buy Canadian lumber, so if they run short, they can't fulfill their supply, so they have to increase the cost, which is exactly what happened. So other countries, seeing this increased cost in the United States' lumber supply, will then go overseas and say go to China's or Russia's or any number of other places which do not have the increased cost because of the artificial barrier put in place by tariffs. So that's just one very simple example. It has happened extensively with tariffs. Every time they've been put into place, our food prices have gone up, our raw material prices have gone up, our manufactured good prices have gone up, all because we are putting a wall between, by populist economic policies, put a wall between us and the rest of the world. So anyways, that's all I can do right now. I hope to talk to you guys later. If you have any comments or questions or requests, please send them. As always, my books can be found at my name, Joseph Cadot, on Amazon, and I'll talk to you guys later.